Honest community, before we dive into this episode, we've got a quick free favour to ask. If you enjoy the Honest Property podcast, please hit like, follow and subscribe wherever you're listening from. It helps us grow, reach more people and bring on guests that you want to hear from. Thanks for being a part of this. We appreciate you more than you know.
Hello and welcome to the Honest Property podcast. We're your hosts, Becky and Ruth, and we love talking all things, we love talking about holistic entrepreneurship and building wealth sustainably through property investing primarily. And on today's episode, we have a lovely guest, Steph James from JH Properties. And we got in touch on, don't we always, Instagram. Yeah. And she is a pro at automating and systemizing, which is absolutely everything that we are for, especially if you want to give back your freedom through investing. So we found Steph on social media and she just lives and breathes everything that we love. And we want to implement more this year. So also selfishly, we want to know how she does. So we can do it. So welcome, Steph.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming
on.
We'd love to know how you got started, because I think I saw that you started investing with your dad. Was that right?
Yeah, that's it. My dad is a little bit quirky, and when I turned 16, he gave me, my brother and my sister a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad for Christmas. That was his present. But, you know, it has been the best present that I've got. And all three of us now are actually we've all built our own businesses and we all work for ourselves. So it's clearly had an impact.
Yeah.
But I'm the one that I dropped out of uni a year early, came home and started conversations with my dad back about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And yeah, we decided to set up a business together. So that's how we formed JH Properties. That was our first sort of property investment business. We did that that was 2013. So we did that for 10 or 11 years. And then he thought he'd quite like retirement. So, and I thought no. So my brother's been sort of setting up a business totally aside from property and liked what we were doing. So then I've partnered with him now. Wow. And I also have a lettings agency with my husband too. So there's a lot of property going on over here.
That's amazing. So it's like a full-fledged family business.
Yeah, definitely. We've all got involved in one way or another.
You need put a sign on your vehicles that's like JH Properties and Sons, husbands and daughters.
But like the Brady Bunch, but like Property Bunch or something.
So sweet. I love that. Why not keep it in the family? So started with your dad introduced you. You've now grown a family empire. And what point did you decide to implement all these systems and processes and automations? Like what were the events that led up to that?
Yeah, I got really into the systems and processes probably 5 years ago. I don't think it's a coincidence that my son is 5 years old.
Yeah, it's always, it changes everything.
Yeah, before having him, I could keep up with everything. You know, I look back and think, what the hell did I do with all of my time back then? I thought I was busy and I definitely was not busy. So Ellis, my son, was born and I just found myself wanting to spend more and more time at home and constantly being pulled to work. And I was the only one that could put out the fires, that kind of thing. That's when I really started going, okay, I really need to put some systems in place here. And I'm a little bit obsessive when I get my, teeth into something. And I got really, really obsessed with it to the point where, I'll pore over something sometimes for 4 or 5 days just to save myself 30 seconds on a task. Yeah. But it works. I very much subscribe to I think it's James Clear from Atomic Habits. I subscribe to the sort of improve something 1% every single day and the compound effect will really help.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what I try to implement in my life.
Yeah. So the turning point was when you had your son. Was it do you remember the day that it was clear to you that your systems were the systems that you were running on just weren't working? Were you like a one woman band in so many tasks that you were doing with your business that there was a point where because I remember the point when personally, because I have a 3-year-old son, and I remember the point of going, this isn't really, I can't carry on doing this. I'm not in my 20s anymore. And we had a big meeting to go, I I am now a mother, I cannot act like I'm not.
Yeah, for sure. I suppose maybe not one moment, but definitely lots of little moments pretty much throughout the maternity leave year. I actually didn't take maternity leave. My partner then, now husband, took the entire share of the parental leave for the whole year. So he took the whole year off from his PAYE job. It was like the first time that had ever happened in his job. They had to take it through legals for like 3 months.
Wow.
But yeah, because he's the first person at his job that had ever taken the full parental leave, which, makes sense. So he took the full year off. Because I worked for myself, I thought, I'll give myself 3-4 months, which I did. But I was pulled back in at least 6, I think I had about 6 weeks. I was pulled back in. And honestly, that first year, I think towards the end of it, I realized how chaotic it had been and how little time I'd actually had to spend at home with my brand new son. And my husband was gearing up to go back to work and really didn't want to. And when he said that he didn't want to go back to work, I thought, he doesn't want to go back to work. I don't really want to continue what I'm doing. That's when we decided to set up Nouveau Lettings, the lettings agency, because I think for me at that point, I was project managing and managing the tenants. It was just way too much for me. So he actually didn't go back to work. He took over the management of the tenants and started to grow that agency on his own. It's mainly his. I do the systems and automation, but he does all the in-person stuff, the training of team members, everything. He ran with that. And now that's his job. And both of us have completely flexible time at home with our son. So it's worked. I suppose it was that maternity leave that just really woke me up to it.
And birthed a new business.
Yeah, that's true.
Your husband to be able to divert into something that now you're both creating, you're investing, and your businesses are, it's like the perfect marriage. Is your husband is running the communications and that team, and you're focusing on the systems and the future of your investments that you have now and growing that. So it's like, how smart.
Yes. I can't believe we didn't see it. His entire employment history has been customer service and that kind of stuff. And I'm dreadful at customer service. Terrible. I'm the person behind the laptop just sort of being quiet and carrying on. So it's really great. He's far better at managing tenants, talking to landlords than I ever was. And I can just sit and do all the things I enjoy, making it better. So it's great.
You're just pulling on each other's strengths where they wonderfully now balance each other out and just employ yourselves. And I think that is really smart.
Yeah, that's true.
So with lead generation, talk us through that. How does that work for you? Because you're obviously on social media, because that's how we've connected. And we've said this several times in previous episodes. Social media has made us grow our network and connection. Like today, if it wasn't for that, then how would you know? So have you been on social media for a long time? Because we were too scared when we first started to really let people know what we did out of judgment. And big reason was because we also at the time didn't have friends who were buying houses, especially let alone investments. We stayed at home to be able to buy houses for investments. And we were too scared to tell anyone what we were doing because landlords get a really bad rep. Have you been on social media since the beginning, or when was it that you started and you started to see, actually, I'm getting some really good leads and this is actually helping my business?
Yeah, I haven't been on it a hugely long time either. And I would completely agree with what you just said. It was the same reason for me. I've been investing since 2013. I think 12 years, about the same as you guys. And I think I went on social media during the pandemic. So can you hear things popping up on my computer or not?
No,
good. The earphones are working. So I think in the pandemic, as you do, you feel a little bit lonely. I think that's what kickstarted me to join. I kick myself because there's so much I could have been learning from social media as well as sharing in the years before that. But when I think about what I've achieved between 2020 and now, and the opportunities I've had solely from social media, I really kicked myself for not getting on it earlier. But I'm on it now, and that's what matters.
Oh my God, we would completely agree and say the same thing. And I'm personally quite a private person. I think I'm a little bit I'm a introverted extrovert. Is that what you
Yeah.
call them? And I'm quite private. So being able to, it also expose, it's a vulnerable, putting yourself in a vulnerable position to share what you've been doing with other people out there for judgment. But at the same time, without doing that, you wouldn't attract the right people, the right clients, the right JV partners, if that's what you also wanted to do with your property investing. Like, how would you ever find anyone except for your own village?
Yeah, exactly. I think something switched in my head one day where I'd had a really good call with a potential private investor, and they ended up investing £150,000 in our property portfolio, and it had come from a social media post. And something switched in my head where I went, I really am quite careful about what I post on my social media. It's not shared to my Facebook page. I haven't told any of my friends about this Instagram. I was doing it in secret. Like, people didn't think I had Instagram. And I'd got this contact, and I thought this contact actually was somebody I knew in real life, and they'd found my profile and found it. And I thought, I'm limiting myself. I'm limiting the life that I could create for my son and my husband by being embarrassed about putting what I do on social media for personal people. And what's crazy is, as soon as I linked I went, this is my Instagram, it's my personal and public, like they're both the same. If you want to follow me as a friend, you have to follow my business. Linked it with my Facebook. The amount of opportunity I've had from people I know, 90% of our investors are people that know me in real life. 90% of the people that give me opportunity or find a house for me, or it comes from people that I actually know in real life that follow me on my social media page. And that's just a crazy statistic.
See, isn't like it really is crazy how you don't know who in your circle is watching, or what they have in their bank account, or like what their intentions are, whether they are wanting to invest in something but don't know what, and want to put it with someone they actually trust, which is you. And it's not something you have in passing conversation with like a friend in your friendship group. Most people now have social media, and they use it to stalk what other people are doing online. So it's basically like your online portfolio so that they can watch exactly what you're doing, and you're already giving them proof that you are capable.
Yeah. The best thing as well came out of it is now my friends actually know what I do for a job, and they ask me questions. So I swear, like, we'd meet up and I'd be like, how's your work? Yeah, great. This, that, the other. And I'm asking questions. And then they ask me, and I just know that, like, you see their eyes just glaze over, and they're like, what? And now they're like, oh, I saw that project you did last week. That was so good. What was the color you used? Like, I can actually talk about my work now. That's nice.
That's so nice. Nice. Sometimes like a visual, like you can't explain, like explaining things visually is the best way to explain something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even like if you were a vet as well, then if you have a social media presence and you can see like the day in and out of what's going on behind, like I wouldn't go to a vet and ask them from beginning to end of the day what exactly that they did. I probably wouldn't be that interested. But if I was able to follow them and watch what they were doing online, I'd be a lot more invested.
Yeah, you're following a lot of vets.
I was a great dog content.
She's obsessed.
Once you've got your lead on social media, how do you follow up? Like, what's the process after that for you? How have you systemized that bit?
Yeah, sure. I love MailChimp. Obviously, MailChimp's fantastic. I've got like different audiences for different things. We've got an audience for landlords, an audience for tenants, an audience for coaching clients, and they sort of go on there via, like, there's the social media one sort of collects the coaching, or the landlords and tenants tend to get inputted there. They will fill out like a Google form when they apply for a property. So then Zapier sort of zaps that over there. And that's the hub for sort of keeping all the leads in one place. And obviously then we can have campaigns and templates that we send out to people there. I love journeys in MailChimp as well. They're fantastic. Just automatic. As soon as somebody signs up to your audience, it just immediately emails them whatever's relevant to them. So that's really handy.
Just so people are not aware what MailChimp is, we use MailChimp, but could you let people know what exactly that software is?
Yeah. It's automatic emailing software. So instead of you having to keep templates and things on your actual main, wherever you email things from usually, it's a whole hub where you keep all of your contacts in one place and you can separate them into different audiences. You can then categorize them by subgenres. So we have, for instance, tenants that have applied with us, and then we have tenants that have been accepted, and they're a subgenre. So the tenants that have been accepted get an email sent out every September with stuff like, you'll be switching your boiler on soon. So here's some ideas about how you might need to adjust the pressure. Make sure you're being careful of mold and mildew. And then they might get another one in the summer. And then tenants that haven't been accepted, but they did apply, if we've got a new property coming on, before we advertise it, we have a mass email that goes out and says, hey, we've got this property on, are you interested? And then that might save us a fee on Rightmove to advertise that property. Mm-hmm. They're already pre-checked and pre-applied.
I love that. So what a time saver.
Yeah, massively. I told you, saves me 30 seconds. I'm doing it.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's the upfront time that of setting it up then saves you 30 seconds, but it's worth it if ongoing. It's the compounding, like you said before, of putting that initial investment into making those systems work will save you time ongoing.
Yeah, and also compliance. Like, I know if I'm in charge of an aspect of my business, I am always going to make human error. I'm a natural entrepreneur, which means that we're usually quite creative and not necessarily interested in the admin and the day-to-day. So making sure that there's that compliance. Our lettings agency is built on technology and compliance, and you have to be so on it with your property management. And that as soon as you introduce, obviously there's mistakes that tech can make, but that it saves you a huge amount of human error if you can implement those.
So far it's been Google Docs, MailChimp, social media.
Zapier.
Zapier.
Mm-hmm.
Is it mainly Instagram you use, or do you use LinkedIn or Facebook for yours?
We use a lot of SEO for Google on our website. So for Nouveau Lettings, that's really picking up now. That's a slow burn. I implemented that maybe over a year ago now. And probably the past 3 months, I've really seen the numbers start to tick up, and we're getting a lot of phone calls now. I've been on your website. I was searching for HMO management in Cheshire, and they've actually come, and I can see what pages most people are interested in and that kind of thing. So that's really useful for lead generation.
Do you use from is it from Google SEO? Is that the Google SEO? Just for anyone, because we have entrepreneurs or people are also wanting to get started in business that listen to this podcast. So this is really helpful for them to know what these the tools are.
Something that I've found to be probably the most useful thing, if you really want to implement the Google SEO, that's search engine optimization. So you want to make sure that when people are searching for whatever you're providing, that they're going to find it on Google, which is obviously the most popular place people are going to look. The best thing I've found is actually regular blogs and using ChatGPT, whether you want to use ChatGPT to write the blog or you write the blog yourself and then put it into ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT to just optimize your wording for search engines. And then you can give them a little paragraph about like who your target market is, who you're trying to attract, what you're providing. And then they will come up with what they believe the keywords are for. And then they'll rewrite your blog to include as many of them as possible. And then I just post one of them that you can also schedule that automatically. So I think the next 6 months of blogs are completely scheduled for us for Nouveau. And that just every week. Yeah, there's a blog on the website. It's literally there. It's there to inform people, but really for me, it's there to just really increase our search engine optimization. Keep reminding Google, we're here, this is what we provide.
Yeah. How do you schedule your blogs?
So I use Wix, and Wix has an automatic blog scheduler. You just write it and then you can schedule it for a certain day or time. I think you can schedule them a year in advance.
That's so good. Automation. I love automation. It's working with AI and not against it. It's like, how do you feel about AI I'm sure they use a lot of it to be able to
use ChatGPT nowadays.
Yeah, well, it's such a best friend for an entrepreneur if you take the time to learn how to use it properly.
Yeah, for sure. I think I use it more as a like pulling ideas out of my mind and then me refining those. I think a lot of the mistakes that people make is they just use it as like a copywriter and it's going to write content for you. And I just don't see that. And it's just copy and paste. And then you can tell on the social media posts or the blog posts, you can tell there's no personality. I know that I'm
language. It's like, if there is another rocket, if I see that rocket one more time,
or like the really big, is it a hyphen? But it's like extra long.
Yeah.
The Oxford comma.
It's annoying because like sometimes you want to use, like for us, we're like, we want to use the rocket, but we really don't want to use the rocket.
That's a telltale.
That uses ChatGPT knows the rocket is ChatGPT. And like you said, it's the double line. Everyone knows. So how can we use that anymore?
Exactly. I remember I really quickly wrote an email on ChatGPT and I posted it to somebody and then I got an email back from them and I read it and I was like, that email is also ChatGPT and we're just two robots communicating with each other at this point.
But I think it's important to know it is a tool. We are people and this is meant to help us claim our time back. So I think I love it for ideation. Like, I heard somebody, I was listening to a podcast the other day, it was like another entrepreneurial podcast, and I related to it so much because when I'm on a walk, that's when all my ideas come. That's when all the thoughts happen. That's when I start mentally scheduling my life. And then it's like gone by the time I get back. But this person would voice note herself all the things going on in her head and then go back home after her dog walk and then go to ChatGPT and be like, schedule this. Schedule these other ideas. Yeah. And even using
I like that.
Yearly campaign planning as well. And then you piece everything together and change things up. But it takes out helps build a structure to
Yeah, 100%. I like to if they leaked my ChatGPT entrances, I would be so embarrassed because they are just a blur of like, this is what I'm thinking right now. And I sort of want it to be a bit funny, but I also want it to be quite knowledgeable, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it is horrendous. Yeah. But it's just pulling those ideas. And the biggest thing I use ChatGPT for is I ask it to ask me questions. So, let's say I'm preparing for this podcast. I would say, hey, I'm going on a podcast and I want to talk about systems and automations that I use. Ask me a question one by one about the systems and things I use, so that I can sort of create a cheat sheet of ideas that I can reflect back on. Because, I'm quite scatty and then it pulls those ideas out of me that are hidden away that it's harder to access unless you've got someone there sort of pulling it.
So true, because I used to use it. I'm very much someone who would be that person who would write into Google exactly what I'm thinking. And I'd feel like, oh, this is such a dumb question. Why don't I know what I need to ask Google? But now we've got AI. No dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question because it will source it from the wide web. It also makes me feel good about myself. I'm like, excellent.
You're using it for self-validation as well. Love it.
I would love to ask next. So with the management systems that you've got, what software do you use for that? I feel like there needs to be like a software cheat sheet somewhere for like a list.
Maybe I should make it. Oh, that's a good idea.
Do it.
Okay, deal. I'll park that. Becky, I wish I could voice note it. I need to voice note it for myself later.
So regarding management, obviously you've got your lettings. There's a lot of people to manage.
Yes.
What do you use?
So day-to-day sort of management, keeping all the certificates, things like that. Coho, I'm a massive Coho fan. It took me a little while to get used to it, but that software is fantastic. It just keeps everything in one place. The tenants only message through there now. We did try and have a little friendly WhatsApp option. That's gone now. It's only through Coho and everybody can log into Coho and that's where it goes.
Is that specifically HMOs or is it do you put everything?
Everything. I use that for single lets too. Obviously, we started with our HMOs in there, but they very quickly added single lets. And so now it's all single let. I think it's like £1 or something per unit. So it's really cheap to start off with and it builds as your portfolio builds. And we also can keep track of like tenant happiness in there. They send out little emails that sort of say, how happy are you with your service this month? So we can track that.
Good.
Yeah, they've got like a rent role as well. We don't use that at the moment. We're looking to maybe, but at the moment, my dad does our bookkeeping and it's just easier. So we just keep it. Why not? But, you know, they've got so many different features. It's so useful. And our VA can access that as well. So she can just manage that day to day through there too.
So VA, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you use your VA for your systemization?
Yeah, so Chris, our VA, she is out in the Philippines and she does free holiday soon to there, I think. Business expense. She does everything. She's kind of like the antithesis of me and Cal. She is very detail orientated. She's very much a box checker. She loves like detail and making sure everything's right. So she will do the whole process of moving a tenant in. She looks at their applications. She registers deposits. She signs the tenancy agreement, sends off the deposit prescribed information, adds them to Coho, makes sure that they've got all the stuff they need to be sent, like gas safety certificate and all of that. When they leave, she actions the leaving email. We have something like a leaving email in MailChimp that goes out that tells them this is how clean we expect it. And you can't leave anything in the property because we'll charge you for it. So it lists that. That really helped us make sure we get the property back in a much better condition.
Amazing.
She makes sure that all of the tenant happiness every month, recording the KPIs. She posts stuff on social media for us on Nouveau Lettings. So that's really handy. Signs landlords up. Anything that is documents, admin, that kind of thing. She does that.
Hey guys, if you're new to property investing, we know exactly how hard it is to figure out where to start. That's why we created the Beginner's Roadmap. It's your guide to mastering the fundamentals so that you can move forward with clarity and confidence. Plus, you'll gain access to our free community for ongoing support. Just hit the link in the show notes. Now, let's jump back into this episode.
So how did you vet her to make sure that find her? She was like the missing piece of your team.
Yeah. We found her through Freedom Geek.
Oh, we were having
Brilliant.
It was a guest on a podcast, so that.
Well, I can't recommend them enough, honestly. Really, really great. I think we got very specific about what we wanted, and then had the interviews. The first one ghosted us, and we were like, oh, we weren't very specific about what we wanted at all here, and realized we'd done a terrible job advert, so we completely changed it. Got even more specific and even down to listing exactly what the role was and the type of person we wanted, personality wise, everything. I think they set up 3 interviews for us. Nobody was ticked our box really for that. And then we had another 3 interviews and Chris was on that one. The main thing for Chris was she was very much like fluent in English. That was really important for us. She did a typing test and she was very fast, and she got our ethos of the company. We want autonomy in everybody. We want flexibility within everybody in our team, but we also want people to sort of own their own role and make sure that they're accountable to themselves as well as others. And she really got that, and that was quite key for us.
That's really good. And I think that, so with your husband, am I right? It's husband? I don't want to say partner, running the letting side, and you're doing all the systemization and growing the investment side. Did you pick your VA to do, like, you outsource the tasks that you just didn't enjoy doing? Is that, but you try to outsource as much of the tasks that you really didn't want to do? Is that correct?
Yeah, I suppose I categorize them as like lower level tasks in that they don't contribute a huge amount to maybe the growth of the company or the business, but they are absolutely essential and they do need doing. And that's kind of how I categorize them. If I'm gonna try to create some sort of system, I'll go, is this important? And if it's not, I'll delete it. If it's important, is there some software that I can download? Is there some system that I can implement that's going to make this just automate? And if there isn't, how do I delegate this? And that's my 3-step process. And in the end, if it has to absolutely be done by a human person, then it will go to Chris usually.
Yeah, there's so many solutions out there, but there are kind of, because they're almost different not everyone needs unique services, and there's not going to be like one software that does absolutely everything for you. And then that means sometimes you need a human, maybe Zapier can't even do it, human person to help make this all move together. Does your VA also help with managing repairs and maintenance as well? Or is that what your husband, a different software for that? Or...
Yeah, so we about 6 months ago decided we were going to implement that, and she was going to take over the maintenance side of things. And it didn't go well for us at all. Honestly, I completely own that, in that I just didn't have the time for training. We had about 6 projects on in the summer last year. And then I decided also we're going to outsource this maintenance side of things, which is in itself quite complex. And there's a lot of moving parts there. So then we made the decision that we were going to hire somebody in person. I did interviews for that last week. And after the interviews, I actually was like, I think Chris is better than all of these people. She really, like, she's already trained in the business. She knows what she's doing, and she's passionate about our business and the growth of our business too. And so I think what we're doing is taking a bit of time off over the next few months to really focus on that training level, because what I tend to do is I'll write a standard operating procedure. I use Asana for that. So all of our SOPs are written in Asana, task by task. I usually video it, put it on there. And then if she needs any help with any task that she's been given, she can go to that like master task list, be like, look at it line by line, see how it's done, watch the video. But with maintenance, that is so difficult because there's just so many different things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Boiler pressure and stuff we've managed to sort of outsource. That's a very common one. Leaky taps, but all the tiny little bits and pieces that go on, that's like a wider discussion. So that's definitely our next job.
Yeah, there's so many, especially every property has different quirks, doesn't it? So it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, for sure. We have a really good tracking system at the moment. So for things like seeing repetitive things. So if there's constantly we had the same bath taps constantly leaking no matter what we did in the same property. And I realized it was actually an issue with like the wall. So that was really helpful. If we didn't track like the actual maintenance per house and saw that kept reoccurring, we wouldn't have seen that. So we've had that for a while, and we've got a really good list of tradespeople as well to help us. It's just at the moment, it's Cal at the end of the call. It's Cal going to the house if he needs to. Our ultimate plan is to leave the UK eventually and be completely hands off. So we do definitely need somebody in charge of that. Well, it all depends on the cat, I suppose, because the cat looks healthier than ever. But yeah, we have an aim or a dream to be world schooling, home educating our son. And I think the first place will be Thailand.
You're playing our songs, like
yeah.
Wow. So when do you think that will be implemented by? Do you have a date?
Yeah, I know that for sure we'll be out there by September 2027. Our house, our cars, it kind of like there's a symbioticness, is that the word? Coming together in like August of September, when like our house ends up not being fixed and our cars are out of finance and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like the absolute last date. But when we sort of sat down and started looking at it, we realized as soon as we get somebody in to the lettings, and as soon as we get somebody who can sort of project manage instead of me, we actually can go. So there's potential for it to even happen like September 25. So we just have to see how it plans out, I suppose. We need to get the team in place.
Because you can use project portfolio managers on the ground. I don't know if there was a way that your VA is able to just do that from a distance. And then have you ever thought about working with, just business to business with maintenance companies? Do you work with them, or do you have separate individual contractors?
Yeah, so we have a couple of contracts. Like we have a contract with a gas engineer company, and we have a contract with like a plumbing company, and those are the ones that are the easiest to outsource. So if we go, and we've got an electrician, like it's just him, but he is our electrician, and now she can contact him. It's the other stuff that we definitely need to start focusing in on. But if we look at what went well with the plumbing and the heating and the electrics, we'll be able to sort that, I'm sure. I'm really hoping that a lot of it can go to Chris, because she's already trained. She's already doing a fantastic job. she wants to grow, you know, I would love to give her that opportunity for sure. I don't necessarily believe there are stuff that has to be done in person. Viewings, you know, we're a lettings agency, inspections, but really, could that just be one person who's freelance and just puts it on their own time?
We learnt of recently called Vuber. Have you heard of that?
Yes. I've struggled with Vuber, but I do know people that have really enjoyed it. But I've struggled a little bit with it.
Why is that?
Yeah, do say for anyone who is thinking
What are things to look out for when you're using it? Yeah.
I think the issue is we're quite specific about when we do viewings, the person viewing the property, when they view, that's like half their application form to us. So obviously when they apply, they have to have good credit and they have to, you know, earn enough by government standards, etc. But if they like wipe their feet before they come in the house, that we take note of that. If they thank us at the end of it for like, thank you for the viewing, we take note of that. How quick they get their documents into them, like we take note of that, because the tenant, especially with like the renters' rights bill coming in, the communication aspect and the respect aspect is a hugely important part of our viewing vetting process. And with Vuber, I think that was really hard to come across. I think it needs training in one person, and that one person is our person that goes again and again. Otherwise we have to train every time.
That's true.
It's a very good point.
With with that coming through this year, it's this year, isn't it? In April,
I'm assuming so. Sometime in the spring, summer,
at some point. So, do you have any like worries about like? Is that the reason why you believe that having that human element, you can't just outsource everything to a robot, essentially, onto AI? That by having someone being able to be on the ground and do those viewings, with you saying, with wiping their feet, saying thank you, that's going to really help be like a risk assessment with that coming in.
Yeah. If anything, that's the most important part of their application for sure. Somebody could be earning a massive amount, have the perfect credit history. And if they mumbled as they walked through the door and didn't say anything, didn't say thank you, and took 7 days to get stuff over to us and ignored our texts and our phone calls, they're not going to get the property. Communication is so important with tenants.
Not even just of tenants, just in life, but just
cool.
life in general. If your communication is awful and it's, everyone's living their life. And I think just to say, oh, I'll get back to this, just that small little bit of communication, like I don't have the time, it's not my priority right now, but I can get back to this later. But you're informing that other person that is going to happen. At least they're not left hanging. And I think that's with everything you do in life and business, just that little, it shows humanity.
But you respect the person's time and managing expectations of actually getting back to them. And
and we can't use like a one size fits all on them, because like somebody could have messaged us every other day since the viewing saying, I'm really interested, but I haven't got access to my pay slips yet. And then they message 2 days later and say, I've asked my boss for them. I'm going to get them when I go in on Thursday. And that shows like regular communication. But if you made it a KPI of how long does it take this person to get documents to us, they might go over the 7 days and you've rejected a perfectly good tenant who has communicated and has everything that you want in a tenant. So there has to be some sort of human contact in it. You have to be providing good customer service as well.
Yeah. That's true. I think we were discussing this earlier about how the app, like the logic is there, like that's filling in and applying the application for tenancy. But as women, our intuition is the other half of the application.
Yes.
Like, are we going to have a good relationship?
Yes.
Is this going to be resentful later on because of that? And it's not just like from one side, it's from both sides. Like, we don't want to be annoyed with the fact that we're trying to get blood out of a stone from you. Because how are we supposed to give you our best version if we're just not like our best service as home providers if you're not talking to us?
Exactly.
It's pretty simple, really. But remembering each other's humanity that's the thing, isn't it? It's not like we're, we're companies, or we're businesses really, and that's the way that landlording is going. But there's like a person behind, all like on both sides, and we need to respect each other.
Yeah,
So
100%.
like the financial side, is it all on your dad? Is that he's your automated system?
It's just working away like. So we have Zero. So that and we automate that in terms of like taking receipts. We have Asana. Asana integrates with Zero. You can send your receipts to Asana for like certain projects. It can go underneath certain projects on different boards or different landlords' houses, and then it'll go to Zero, and that means that he can sort of do all of that. We also have, in terms of finances, we have a lot of I've forgotten what they are now. It's just gone immediately out of my head. Maybe I'll remember it in a minute. Maybe I'll remember it. So my dad does a lot of the bookkeeping. That's literally just going into Zero every day for a minute or so and just reconciling it. He has all of the receipts on file, so that's fine. And then also like, go on, sorry.
No, you carry on, because you have more interesting to say.
Also things like travel time, like we use Mile IQ, I think it is. So recording your miles in the computer, and then you can send that to Asana as well, and that'll send to Zero too.
That's really good. I was going to say as well, with expectation as well, with communication with your investors as well, who invest in your projects. Do you manage who's in charge of also managing paying? How do you pay your investors back? Is it monthly, or do you pay them at the end of when the project is done?
It depends on project per project, investor versus investor. Some investors want to be paid monthly, some quarterly, and some, like, mainly if we're paying annually, it's a flip project. All of our payments go out at the end of the month on a Friday, and actually Chris, the VA, schedules them on Wise, and then it's just like one click and it sends to all the investors. She works out, we do it on a very granular, on a day-to-day basis. So it's not a per month payment. It's like, if it's a 31-day month, you get 31 days of interest. So it's different every month. She does the calculations for that, puts it in there, and then I check it on a Friday and just press click. Mm-hmm. They also get an automatic invoice sent with a link to their spreadsheet that shows them what they've earned over the year as well. That's all through MailChimp. She updates those when she does in fact, that's how she calculates it. She does 31 days times something in the invoice, puts it through to Wise, and then MailChimp just sends a link out, and it's got some code in there that it says, your invoice is ready. It's got a link depending on the investor's last name, and it takes them to a Google file that has their spreadsheet with their year's worth of invoices. And this month is the first one. And it's all branded with, Nouveau Lettings, or if it's in Kokairi or JH Private Investor Finance, it's my branding. So that's all systemized there too.
That's so good. And so does your VA also communicate the expectations with your investors as well? Or is that what you do?
Yeah, that's what I do. I'll have a phone call with them initially, set up the contract with them. I'm the one that's in charge of setting up the contract. I haven't outsourced that yet, just because we don't actually use a huge amount of private investors. We've probably got 5 or 6 on our books.
You do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that you need so many, but actually it could be 1 or 2.
A handful, you think.
Yeah.
Because how are you supposed to build that relationship of trust with 100 investors? You build your trust with a handful, and that's all you need.
Exactly. At the moment, that's all just face-to-face, one-to-one. I mean, if it's my finances, I don't mind outsourcing some of that to Chris and making sure that she's managing that. But when it comes to somebody else's money and handling that and setting out the expectations, that's definitely my job at the moment.
So you also provide, with all this wisdom, honestly, so impressed with how you've pieced this all together. We're still, as we're reclaiming our management from having management, where we've already learned a lot from you and how you've pieced it all together. If anything, it's really reassuring to listen to podcasts like this and have these conversations, because there'll be an idea in your mind and you're like, oh, maybe I could use that, or maybe I could try this. But knowing that other people are doing the same or using something similar is an affirmation, okay, this is a way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
but you're able to offer further help for people who are looking to create the sort of lifestyle that you're building for yourself with automating their property portfolios.
Do you provide one-to-one coaching, and do you help your mentees with systemizing as well?
Yes. So I suppose my like one key piece of advice to anyone is to try and do it from the beginning, like build in scalability from the beginning, because I did not do that. And it got to a very obviously difficult pain point. If you can build that from the very beginning, then that's fantastic. So I tend to have like 50% of my coaching clients are brand new to investing, and we're building those systems from the beginning, and also exploring, first time HMO investors, or this is my first flip, that kind of thing. So that's quite nice. But then probably the other 50% already have quite a substantial portfolio, but they haven't built those systems in from the beginning. And so what we're doing is I'm helping them to implement those systems now when they're at quite a difficult pain point that it's now becoming a bit of a full-time job for them. Having built this successful business already, it's now just a day job.
I love that you're offering that service. It's so needed.
Oh, so needed now, especially in a world where we do want some more flexibility and we want to reclaim the time back, because we live in a modern world that is constantly rushing, constantly just busy all the time. And being able to have these systems in place gives you that, we were talking about it on our walk earlier, just gives you that moment to be able to enjoy and just be creative. And if you don't have that mental lull to be able to let your brain just think, then you're just always in constant work mode. And then are you enjoying life?
It's constantly like fighting fires, and you're not actually having any time to go, do I even want to be doing this? What's your passion? What do you actually want to invest in next? And you just think, I think it stifles you as well. Like who in their right mind, when they're already busy managing their whole portfolio, when they want a new property, is going to go, I'll get a 12-bed HMO next. They're not. They're going to go, I'm just going to get an easy single let. I haven't got the time for it. And it's just going to stifle your growth,
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like you do so many things, but because it's all systemized, you're able to do them. Beyond, you also offer letting services.
It didn't start that way, obviously, but the systemization of the property portfolio happened first. Then, because we'd systemized it within our own portfolio, the lettings was a natural step because we systemized it for us. Let's offer it to other people. And then after the lettings, and that got systemized, and Cal was on board then, I'm going, well, I was already doing a bit of coaching at that point, but that wasn't systemized. That was just sort of helping every so often with one-off calls. I thought, I can make this a business and systemize this now. That's my favorite bit, because I get to talk to people face to face, of course. Yeah. And that's just my favorite bit for sure.
Do you offer virtual coaching, or is it in person, or a mix?
It's virtual coaching, so it's over like video call. And then I also have like a little community where all of my coaching clients are in there, and if they want to ask questions and get ideas from the whole group as to like, hey, I've got a deal. Has anyone got any thoughts on this? That's really useful as well. Yeah. And then I also do like one-off webinars. At the moment, I've got one next week on raising finance, because a lot of my clients have all asked about raising finance for their next call. And instead of me doing 6 different calls on like raising finance, I'm just going to do one evening call where everybody can ask their questions. And then it's recorded and put in the community as well. So that's a really nice space.
That's nice, because then they can watch it in their own time. If they're running around busy, they can make time to be able to watch that when they're ready.
Yeah, exactly.
So to wrap up this episode, we are introducing a new thing.
With me, first time.
Well, okay, it's quite open-ended, and it's just end a sentence, and it can be about life, it can be about property, it could be about business, it could be about motherhood, whatever you want. No pressure on the topic, but the sentence is, honestly, the best lesson I've learned is...
Oh, that is a good question.
Your life's lesson.
It's fine. You could help then.
Like a big last word.
I think the best thing that I've learned is that the question? I've forgotten it now. It's totally gone out my head.
And I've learned, honestly.
I think Yeah, the best thing I've learned, I'm going to go back to the thing I said at the beginning, which is James Clear saying just improve by 1%, because it's not just about your business, it's personal life as well. If you just steadily implement a process where every day you're just getting 1% better at whatever it is that you're doing, the compound effect of that, I mean, we all understand it with money, but then we don't apply it to time. If you apply that to your own time, it is crazy. I mean, I started meal prepping, for an example, like last year. And all my goal was to meal prep like 2 or 3 of my lunches a week. And that would mean that 2 or 3 of my days had a little bit less time. And it's a year later and I meal prep every lunch, every breakfast, 2 or 3 dinners. Like the shopping bill's gone down. It's affected a huge part of, we don't go grocery shopping anymore. We've automated that. Like I'm improving the food in our house exponentially every time I do it. It's getting tastier, which is good. But it's saving me time. It's giving me more time with my son. Like my nutrition's getting better. I just improved it 1% every day. And it's easy for me now. I think sometimes we put huge expectations on ourselves to be amazing at something straight away, and just improve a little bit every day.
I love that. I love that we've ended on that note.
Yeah, because I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
for being
Steph.
on the podcast today, Steph.
Thank
so
you
much
very much for having me.
So where can anyone find you if they want to get in touch?
They can find me on Instagram. I'm at Steph_invest. And then we've got nouveaulettings.co.uk. That's probably the 2 places to find me.
Amazing. We will pop those in the show notes and the description. YouTube, wherever you're seeing this from, just check the description on the podcast. And yeah, thank you so much, Steph.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.